Hey folks, what you're looking at is the brand new 2019 Mazda CX-5 Turbo. That's right, you guys have been asking for it, now you get it. We're gonna have an opportunity to drive this vehicle on a performance track. We're gonna talk to one of the top techs about everything that makes it tick, and we're gonna have an opportunity to drive it in Whistler, Canada. Nah. Yes, it is a 2.5 liter turbocharged engine. Yes, it has a 6-speed automatic transmission. Yes, it's all-wheel drive. And yes, it puts out 250 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. If you put in 93 octane fuel, you'll get that power. Now, if you put in, let's say, 87 octane, you'll get around 227 horsepower, but you'll still get 310 pound-feet of torque.
So the difference that you'll get with a premium fuel only shows up at above 4,000 RPM. As you're driving around, you'll notice the engine really never went that high in normal driving because it's so torquey it doesn't need to. It just pulls you around at low RPM.
What you're basically looking at here is the engine and transmission out of the Mazda CX-9. They literally tore it out of that vehicle and shoved it into this one. That's really cool because there's nothing quite like having a big power plant shoved into a lighter vehicle.
So this is a really high torque engine, relatively low horsepower. And the reason we made it such a high torque engine is we're focusing on sort of the way you actually interact with the engine in daily driving. When you're cruising, you're going to be really low RPM, 1,500 to 2,000 RPM most of the time. And we want you to be able to roll under the throttle at that speed and just accelerate without an unnecessary downshift. We're really focused on making the car respond directly to you so you really feel connected with the car. And so that's why we kind of come up with a very different approach with an engine that's super torquey, not as powerful, and much more direct.
So what's new for 2019? This is a different vehicle than the 2018, even though they look very similar. It's more than just trim packages, and it's more than the optional turbocharged engine with the transmission. Apple CarPlay is here, folks. So is Android Auto. Congratulations, you win. It actually took them a long time to do this because they had to replace wiring harnesses. They had to go through negotiations with the companies. There's a lot more to it behind the scenes. And that's why it took so long to do. But it's here now. So at least with these vehicles, you got it. And they can retrofit older Mazdas with their new wiring harness. So look into that if you're interested.
So the turbo that you drove today is in the Signature and the GT Grand Touring Reserve. Those are the two top trims. Yeah. Below that, it's our regular naturally aspirated 2.5 liter. It's actually a closely related engine. And that is a sort of a very high compression, very efficient. It's the engine that's in basically all of our cars at this point. So at low RPM, we close this and force all the exhaust through these tiny ports. That is a really small port to exhaust a 2.5 liter engine.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have a hose that's just on part way and it's kind of dribbling out. You stick your thumb on it, you can then accelerate the water and shoot it across the yard. Yeah, we're putting our thumb over it and getting more velocity. And that spins the turbo up, and then at about 1,600 RPM, we open that up, and for the whole rest of the power band, it's breathing through all 6 ports. We spin it up right off idle, and once it's spinning, it's cramming more air into the engine, then there's more exhaust volume, and then it's a cycle that starts driving itself, right? So this is how this all actually packages in there. So on the engine, when the engine's assembled, the turbo's right here. The intake side is right here, and the exhaust is driving in through here and spitting out.
Pretty wheels, right? These are 19-inch wheels that are available on the 2 top trim levels. They're painted and, frankly, I think they're pretty attractive. You know what else is attractive? What's behind the wheels? The suspension system, the steering system. This vehicle has G-Vectoring Control Plus. I have no idea exactly how to explain that, but what it does do is it helps you corner. It helps you perform better. It actually enhances the car's ability to go around a corner. With that, you also get an upgraded suspension system from the previous model.
G-Vectoring Control, first of all, is a system that's trying to make the car respond to steering inputs more precisely and consistently.
Right.
Because we found when we studied how drivers drive that there was this little hesitation and overshoot at the beginning of every corner. And that ultimately comes from the fact that the cars are inconsistent when they turn in, because the amount of weight on the front tires, a little variation in that weight will have a big impact on how exactly the car turns in.
So you want to mitigate the amount of sawing at the wheel.
Right, and the sawing at the wheel comes from people not being quite sure how much the car is going to move and sort of testing it, and they never can learn how the car works because it works differently every time they turn the wheel.
Okay.
So GVC works to make it consistent, and it does that by shifting weight onto the front tires every time you turn the wheel. As you turn the wheel, it shifts extra weight onto the front tires, and it does that by reducing the power output just a hair, right in response to the steering input. Well, GVC Plus is trying to do the same thing as we unwind the wheel coming out of a corner and start to straighten out. Theoretically, we should just accelerate and put weight on the rear tires, and they will help straighten the car out. But it turns out that feels funny. We instead ended up using the brakes. We drag the outside front brake just a hair. So as you start to straighten the wheel out, it just grazes the outside front brake, and that helps the car straighten back out.
Talk about numbers as I cruise the back roads of Whistler. It is really pretty here. Last year, Mazda sold over 127,000 CX-5s in the United States. That's pretty good. That is not only one of their best-selling crossovers, it's one of their best-selling vehicles, frankly. However, to put it into perspective, Honda sold 378,000 CR-Vs. Toyota sold over 400,000 RAV4s. So yeah, it's not class leading, but it is their top seller. And the good reasons for that are, it just handles great. It always has. I think it looks really good. It's got a comfortable interior, but they've made improvements. And the improvements aren't just the optional engine transmission mix. Nope. The seats are nicer. They're using nice looking leather on the higher end vehicles. But there's a disclaimer. Ready? Disclaimer! I'm driving a vehicle that has snow tires. I know. General Ultimax snow tires. They are rated specifically for snow. And General, I believe, is owned by Continental. When TFL gets a vehicle, we drive it exactly how it's provided to us by the automaker. Given that we're in Canada and it is required by law in environments like this to have snow tires, we have no choice. So I can't tell you about how it feels on this type of terrain using the regular tires the vehicle has, which are mud and snow tires. No, I'm only telling you based on what it's like to drive in this environment using snow tires. We have driven on highway, back road, in snow, in ice, black ice, and dry highway. We've done it all. Well, not according to TFL. I haven't taken it off-road, but they're not going to let me do that here. So far, it's been very good. The only way I was able to really get it to break traction and actually spin the wheels is when I was heading uphill and I slammed on the accelerator. There's something else. We talked about competition. Yes, it does compete with the RAV4 and the Honda CR-V, and to a lesser extent, the Subaru Forester, although I haven't driven the recent one. In fact, the last one I drove was 2 generations ago. And it's actually a pretty damn good car in the snow. They all are. They all have their positive traits. However, out of those vehicles, especially after driving the Toyota RAV4, which we just recently drove, and I had an opportunity to play with it on most surfaces except for snow, I can say with every confidence that the Mazda CX-5 is still the driver of the group. Steering feedback is quite good. Overall feel is excellent for a vehicle in this class. Its overall driving dynamics are easily the best in class. Not only that, but I'll say that they are second to one of my favorite vehicles, the Acura RDX. I'm not kidding. This vehicle is right there with it. They both handle extremely well. They're now both turbocharged. So what do I think of the car? It's pretty damn good. Everything you guys wanted in the CX-5 you're getting. You're getting the power, you're getting the performance, you're getting your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you're getting a nicer interior, you're getting everything that's been asked. Question is, will you buy it? Mazda hopes so. For the Fast Lane Car, this is Nathan. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. They're here. Congratulations. Did you catch that? God is saying, yes, I like Android Auto. Yes, I like Apple CarPlay. And I really hope a large lump of snow doesn't fall on me from the tree.